4th at 1 p.m. Ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that Council adopt the agenda for the October 24th Committee of the Whole meeting as presented.
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn that the Committee of the Whole adopt the minutes from the September 26th Committee of the Whole as presented.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I'll give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Smith that the Committee of the Whole formally acknowledge that the meeting on October 11th was cancelled in accordance with Council's procedure bylaw.
I will give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Environmental impairment pollution insurance coverage. Jody?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So I wanted to present to you our environmental impairment insurance coverage, also known as pollution coverage. We have carried this insurance coverage for at least 10 years. And with this year's annual insurance renewal, administration has identified an area that we should consider whether or not we maintain this insurance going forward. Over the last number of years, as with everything else, the cost to continue this insurance, the premiums have gone up anywhere from 5 to 22% annually, and the current costs are just over $20,000 per year. To give a little bit of an idea, over the last 10 years, we have spent over $158,000 in premiums on this coverage, and we have only had one claim in that 10-year period in 2015, where it was a third-party spill that the town responded to, both with fire and bylaw were there to assist. The total costs were about $35,000, and our insurance provider, MST, who is currently Alberta Munis now, or Alberta Municipalities, was able to recover all but approximately $4,300 of that expense. So the town only lost that $4,300 of that entire $35,000 cost. Over the years, we have also experienced other losses, but they were never raised to a claim that required Alberta municipalities to provide support, such as too much chlorine in the potable water. At that time, the lines were flushed and there was no claim. We have also had the goldfish contamination in the Highwood Storm Pond, and we have also had mold at the Mundy Park facility, where mold is an exclusion, so there was no claim raised from that one either. A few other examples that could possibly be considered under this would be an ammonia leak at the Bob Snodgrass Recreation Complex. If we were to have a spill at the public works yard, such as salt, or we do have a beet additive that we have in a above ground tank there, or any other smaller fuel spills. Also, we have the 4 acres south of town, which Public Works also uses for storage. Or there is one if there was another third-party event, such as a fuel truck, and if it was involved in an accident that resulted in a spill, and again, our fire or bylaw were to respond to that, then there could be costs associated with that as well, but we would be hopeful to recover those in the same manner as Alberta municipalities did for us back in 2015. According to our enterprise risk management policy and the risk matrix in there, it was included in your agenda package. This particular risk is indicated as low. And when it is indicated as low, there is no action required, but continued monitoring should occur in case the risk increases and we need to take additional actions. So in this particular case, administration is recommending that we cancel this coverage and self-insure against this type of incident, any environmental spills, and that the funds be considered to be set aside that would typically go to the premium into a reserve to support the self-insurance approach. Again, in your agenda package, there was a model for reserves being put aside. If that model is too aggressive, we can adjust, we can go more or less. If we were to not do anything, we would just maintain status quo and continue this coverage. However, if council administration feel that it is prudent to cancel the coverage and use those savings associated to the premiums in another way, that could be considered in the 2023 budget process. If you have any questions, I'm happy to respond.
Questions from council? Four. Is that you? It's like the Umbrella Academy now. Hey, everybody's got a number.
My apologies, I will check that at the break.
Thanks, Raider. This is number 4 speaking. And
No, you're not number 4, I'm 4.
Who's
no.
four?
Who's 4?
Me?
How do you know?
It says 4 at the top of my screen.
Well, mine doesn't say anything, so how would I know?
Oh, yeah. You're the next. You're the next one. You're blank.
Okay,
Your
girls,
girls
green first.
outline. Councillor for Smith.
Thank you, Councillor Barton. Thank you, Mayor. I'm curious to know from the Alberta municipalities, what is their, so when they helped us out before, what was that they helped us out with? Is that some kind of a reserve fund that they operate with to help municipalities? Just a little more clarity with that, please.
Absolutely, happy to answer that one. So when it's raised as a claim, the benefit to having Alberta municipalities work on our behalf is that it is like any other insurance, it comes from the pool, and then they work with the third party as well as their legal team to determine what the recovery will be. So in this particular instance, it was 75% of our deductible that we received back, as well as a slight bit of the costs actually associated with the cleanup that were not reimbursed to the town. So I think what you're getting at is what happens if we do not have that coverage. Then we would be having to manage that ourselves. So administration would have to do that legwork to work with the third party and get those reimbursements back. Potentially, if it was not going well, we may have to hire a lawyer to act on our behalf to enforce that. Thank you.
Councillor Barton.
I think through simple deduction that I'm number 3. Jody, a question on, do we do any other self-insuring, like do we have any other models like that?
So we do have some other items that we self-insure on the property side, and it is items that are close to or just above our deductible. Our deductible is $5,000, so we have looked at a format of any properties that are a value of 1.5 or less, so $7,500. We do not insure, we just self-insure those.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
It looks like there's somebody, but I don't know if there is. Blank. A blank, you are still blank, and you will be blank today.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Just a quick question. You talked about putting monies into a reserve for this fund to cover off something should happen. How much are you planning to do annually? Is it the premium or is it some other number?
I think we can leave that up to council if they want to determine how much we can put into reserves. The model in your agenda package was continuing with approximately the $20,000 a year, which is about the premiums. And then that fund would, over 5 years, end up at $100,000. If we wanted to adjust that amount up or down, and then if we wanted to put a max limit on that, like let's say we don't have a claim for another 10 years, but we say we only want to hold $200,000 in that reserve in the event of an environmental incident that required that, then we would just manage that however council felt was adequate.
No further questions, blank? I will now call upon name one
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just confirming number 1. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I will update my spreadsheet. No, you're blank too today, actually. Any further questions? None. Any further comments?
No, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Fall event debrief. Nancy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. The town partnered with local community organizers to deliver an event-filled weekend on September 23rd to 25th that entertained town residents and attracted numerous out-of-town visitors. Friday night kicked off the weekend of festivities with the Balloon Glow launching from its new location on the Wallaceville lands. The new location was well received by spectators, and both pedestrian and vehicle traffic operated smoothly. The Burnout event was also well attended, attracting car enthusiasts of all ages for car performance demonstrations. The event saw some minor challenges that have been discussed with the organizers and will be addressed for next year's event. The Show and Shine car show was a tremendous success, with the weather cooperating and attracting spectator numbers that rivaled pre-COVID attendance. The events team met with community organizers to conduct a lessons learned to better prepare for next year's planning. Overall, the weekend's events were tremendously successful. The town and organizers felt strong collaboration, communication, and support contributed to the success of all events. During the event debrief, areas of opportunity were identified. The special event permit process is cumbersome for organizers. The special event team will be reviewing and updating the process over the winter to develop a more user-friendly application process. Additionally, the stand-up of the EOC for the Balloon Glow was identified as extremely successful, and the special event team, along with Protective Services, will be working over the winter to identify potential solutions for event support that will be presented to Council for consideration. Noted by event organizers was limited volunteer resources. Organizers in the town will need to keep this in consideration for event planning moving forward. Also noted was a desire for more integrated planning meetings, which will also be addressed for next year's events. Parks and Recreation is excited to take over management of the special event permit process and looks forward to developing a program that attracts a variety of events to meet the community interests. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thanks, Nancy. Any questions from council? Is it you? Blank?
Just a comment to remind council, next year the Show and Shine will be the weekend before the Balloon Festival, so we'll be going over 2 weekends next year.
The Show and Shine will be the week before?
The
Saturday?
weekend before.
The weekend before?
Yeah, Show and Shine will be on Sunday, then on Wednesday is
You
when
guys
the
start
balloon
on
event-
Wednesday?
Every 7 years this happens, so the balloon event will start on Wednesday. Because the balloon event is the last weekend in September. The Show and
Right.
Shine is the last Sunday in September.
Oh, okay, so it swaps. Gotcha.
Yeah, every
Okay.
7 years it swaps, so.
Okay. And you guys have to wait that long for enough of the crops to be off so you can land, correct?
That's a big part of it, is the crops being off, and the second part of that is the Albuquerque Balloon Festival,
Right.
which is the one down in New Mexico, takes place the weekend after ours. So our pilots will come and attend our festival, and then drive down and do the Albuquerque
there.
one.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, cool. Three?
Thank you. I will be 3. Okay, I'll be 3. The scheduling with the car show the weekend before, is it possible that, as we watch how that goes, it could be suggested that the car show be the weekend before instead of waiting 7 years for it to be spread out? I know that the impact on your festival participation is predetermined by the international things, but if it's possible to start finessing that date, it would.
Councillor Walsh, the reason that the show and shine's the last Sunday is because they go the week after an event that's held in Radium. Radium has a big show and shine the weekend before, and then they go as the last one. So I've talked to them a little bit about it, and it is a challenge for show and shine to move their dates.
Kelly?
Thank you. Just further to that, I'm curious to know the resource allocation that it takes from the town's perspective and our staff to realize both events in one weekend. I understand the logistics and the reason for the timing. I'm just curious as to how that plays out in actual manpower and requirements that way.
It definitely is challenging on the human capacity side, but also on the physical resources that we have. So for this being my first year of those events all happening at once, it'll be great for me to compare next year what that impact is. But now being more aware of that, and we can work earlier to plan pick-up and drop-off locations of resources so that we can better prepare for staffing.
No further questions. Thanks very much, Nancy. Open Q&A for council to admin. Nothing. Meeting adjourned 1:16.